Irish guy, and look, when players leave your club, you don't really care what happens to them next, right? In the same way you don't really care if your ex is now getting married to an actual pig. Oink oink. But still, are you not also a little sad to see when your former star now has their career buried in a sinkhole? So yeah, today I'm going to take a look at every Premier League club and find your former player who right now you just feel sorry for. Right, let's go. Arsenal, Wojciech Szczesny, Barcelona. Yeah. I'm feeling sorry for a man who literally represents Barcelona Football Club. Am I okay? Am I feeling alright? What next? Am I gonna pity David Beckham's kids?
Oh no, they've grown into such exorbitant wealth.
To such an extent that each one probably has their own private monkey butler to pour them Rice Krispies in the morning, right? No. My sympathies are so misplaced, right? What on earth am I doing feeling sorry for Wojciech Szczesny, who is literally living out his dream, right? Wrong. Sure, this might look like a dream scenario for someone who was literally kicked out of Arsenal for smoking in the showers like some rebellious teenager, and this is Barcelona, right? But this 34-year-old Polish goalie, he was already retired. He'd already lost his hunger for the sport at Juventus. And after his big money Saudi move collapsed, he was quite happy to just now sit at home eating cheeseburgers with his dog. But a Barca goalkeeping crisis lured him out of retirement, and he was probably hoping that he'd be their number one now. But no, they tricked him. They sold him a lie because the poor man has yet to make his Barcelona debut, and lads, it's Michael Bublé season already. This is a man who took over from Gianluigi Buffon, arguably the greatest goalkeeper to ever live, and yet now he can't squirm past an uncapped Inaki Peña in the Barcelona goal. Someone who's less famous than Thugden. Szczesny came out of retirement to the Graham's up eating cookies on the bench. It's like Floyd Mayweather coming out of retirement to punch Deji around a ring. Like, what's the point? Aston Villa, Jack Grealish, Man City. Jack Grealish hasn't scored in a year. Year. Yes, this £100 million star who gets paid £300,000 a week. Someone who is also a massive Gucci star, branded as football's Johnny Depp, and yet a year, an actual entire year. Okay, to be fair, he has since scored for England, including one in Dublin, which made me feel like ripping off my own eyebrows and eating them, but not a single strike for Man City since last December. Oh yeah, and he didn't even make England's Euro 2024 squad. These things would be unthinkable for somebody who, yeah, Villa sold for 100 mil. And to make it worse, I'm sure Grealish's childhood dream was always to play Champions League football for his boyhood Villa, not warming the bench at Man City, a team who we know he openly hated in 2012, so much that he wanted Man United to win the league. Honestly, lads, to be missing out on Villa's Champions League season, it must be heartbreaking for the guy. Oh, no, sorry, yeah, I feel sorry for... No, I don't. I really don't, I'm sorry. Bournemouth, Aaron Ramsdale, Southampton. When you're a goalkeeper, deciding your next transfer move can make or break your career. I mean, for Aaron Ramsdale, returning to Bournemouth was the move to make this summer. Not one of, no, the move. The stars had aligned. Andoni Iraola wanted a new goalkeeper. Arsenal wanted to sell. Ramsdale wanted first team football. And yet he chooses to agree a permanent switch to Southampton instead. Don't you tell me the Cherries weren't interested in bringing Aaron back? Of course they were, because they signed Kepa on the same day. All these deals were impacting on each other, to such a point that Arsenal even signed a goalie from Bournemouth. If Ramsdale had stamped his foot and told the Gunners,
I'm not moving anywhere but Bournemouth,
then I promise you, his career would have been saved. Come on, he'd now be a #1 goalie for an ambitious club trying to qualify for Europe. Instead, he is stuck in the Saints treatment room with a broken finger and helplessly watching his side get relegated without a fuss. And get this, next season, he's going to be stuck in the Championship and will actually have a competitive fight on his hands to keep a very talented Gavin Bazunu out of the team. His England career is absolutely going to be spread across soggy toast and fed to a cow. He's locked into a 4-year deal at Southampton. And I don't care how good he is, this will be the 4th relegation of his career. And he's actually going to be lucky it's not a stupidly embarrassing 5th, because he only survived League 1 relegation with Wimbledon on goal difference. Are you for real? Ain't nobody's reputation surviving that. Brentford, Ivan Toney, I forget. Yeah, who cares? I've already touched on this recently, but yeah. Not only is Ivan Toney putting up really meek, mediocre numbers in the Saudi Pro League, but Brentford actually scoring way more goals without him? That's gotta be a punch to the ego. Brighton, Aaron Connolly, Sunderland. Oh, lads, I really hope that Evan Ferguson turns out to be the real deal, because I swear, if Brighton have duped me twice with the promise of producing elite Irish strikers, because Aaron Connolly was the original Fergie. I remember 5 years ago, when as a teenage striker, he was scoring 2 past Spurs. Yeah, it's 5 years later, he's on loan at Sunderland in the Championship and has 1 goal so far. And he literally cannot get in the team. Come on, his last match was 6 minutes in a defeat to Sheffield United. His time at Sunderland so far has been a big bowl of constipated ice cream. Chelsea, Mason Mount, Man United. Mason Mount's career is in total free fall. Remember when this Champions League winning midfielder was one of the most lucrative free agents in the world a year ago? Yeah, he had a pretty dreadful injury hit debut season at Man United, sure. But his second campaign has been absolutely no better. I mean, he started the first 2 Premier League games of the season, was dragged off at halftime in the second one against Brighton, and he's only started 1 match since, playing an hour in the defeat to Arsenal last week. He hasn't scored a goal since March. His only goal for the club. What's even more depressing is that he's only chalked up 1 assist against Crystal Palace in the League Cup 15 months ago. This is someone who provided a winning assist in a Champions League final. Sorry, 1 goal and 1 assist for a man who's earning £250,000 every week? Is that a joke? Remember when he and his best buddy Declan Rice were seen as an Ant-and-Dec double act? 2 up-and-coming England stars. Oh, they were spotted out at boxing fights, big events, and were probably even snapped out in restaurants, eating spaghetti with Lady and the Tramp. Yeah, we're at a stage now where Rice has outgrown his friend. Mount is now probably seen in Premier League circles as being that dorky nerd who stays home on Friday nights eating pudding with his mum. Rice is probably embarrassed to be seen in public with him now. That's how much of a hole this man is in. Crystal Palace, Wilfried, Zaha, Leon. You know what? The one player in this list which personally depresses me probably the most is Wilfried Zaha, because I absolutely adore players like him. The pure street ballers, the step over merchants, the dribblers who completely hog the ball, because that is me all over. My least favorite part about playing football is having to pass the ball. And yeah, I know that makes me more selfish than the snake off the jungle book. Absolutely. But, I mean, Zaha liked being a big fish in a small pond solely because he didn't have to pass the ball. There was no one to pass to. But there was a nagging part in the back of his brain which demanded that he eventually get some Champions League football. And he did in a pretty vanilla loan spell at Galatasaray. But in the summer, he's gone alone to a European giant in Lyon. I mean, surely Zaha in the French league would look like prime Messi, right? He might as well not be there. The Ivorian winger started once against Toulouse in September. That's it. 5 further appearances off the bench, but his minutes are getting fewer and fewer. I mean, his last appearance was just 1 minute. 60 seconds. Look, it is a talented Lyon squad, sure. And they do have slick wingers like Ryan Cherokee and Matic Fofana ahead of him. So I'm not accusing the manager Pierre Sage of irrationally hating Zaha because he caught him texting his daughter in the bath. No, nothing like that. But I just think Zaha was offered a new Palace deal worth £200,000 a week last year. He would be earning $1 million a month in the Premier League until 2027 at least, cementing his Palace legend status. Instead, he's living in a lonely French village, suspiciously poking croissants. It's just sad. Everton, Ross Barkley, Aston Villa. Look, Ross Barkley has been useful enough for Aston Villa this season, I suppose. So this isn't completely tragic, but come on. He was seen as a generational talent was in Everton's midfield. And when he moved to Chelsea, he said he wanted to be world class. I mean, come on, between the ages of 20 and 26, he hoovered up 33 England caps. Between the ages of 26 and 21, he's earned none. And after a pretty brilliant season for Luton Town last campaign, honestly, last Christmas, some pundits were tipping him for a PFA Player of the Year nomination. Honestly, I don't care that he still went down. That was the best season he's had for a solid 7 years. He goes to Villa in the summer, and sure, I guess he plays every week, but it's usually off the bench. Fulham, Fabio Carvalho, Brentford. Look, Fabio Carvalho has not been a total Brentford flop or anything, no. But again, like Barkley, we were demanding more from this attacking midfield talent by now. Barkley is a crumpled old man at least, but Carvalho, he's 22 and was seen as an absolute future megastar while at Craven Cottage. Well, he's now Brentford's club record signing and can't get in the team. Brentford are the perfect team for Carvalho, and yet, so far, 3 starts. 3. Ipswich Town, Flynn Downs, Southampton. Remember when Flynn Downs was hands down seen as Ipswich Town's best homegrown star for years? Come on, having spent 15 years on their books, can we just accept that he quit the club at the absolute worst time? I know that he's a West Ham fan, and so being part of their squad to win a first European trophy would have been amazing, and a bit of a fluke. But think how much better of a player he'd be by now if he'd been part of Ipswich's double promotions, instead of mostly languishing on the bench with David Moyes finally scraping his confidence into a wormery. As a result, we've now got a fairly nervous-looking central midfielder thrown to the wolves at Southampton, repeatedly made to look stupid after participating in Russell Martin's ridiculously naive tactics. I mean, come on, the poor guy was even chucked in a centre-back against Liverpool. Of course he messed up, it's stupid. Horrible half clearances in his own box. This isn't Down's fault, it's his manager's. Asking him to play like prime Busquets, when he and his teammates have the natural talent of monkey milk. Leicester, Kelechi Iheanacho, Sevilla. Okay, well, Kieran Dewsbury Hall's ridiculously pointless move to Chelsea is definitely a contender, but you know what? Let's look at Kelechi Iheanacho instead, because lads, I once thought this man was the next Man City megastar. I actually thought he was the heir to Aguero's throne. Nah, we're at a stage now where the man has been rewarded for years of inconsistency and failed promise, despite that literally being his middle name, with a move to Sevilla, where he has been rubbish. This all feels very Anthony Martial, right? 0 La Liga goals so far, and he has failed to pick it off the bench 7 times. He can't even dislodge a striker, Isaac Romero, who had to wait until December to bag his first goal of the season despite starting every week. Just wow. Liverpool, Jordan Henderson, Ajax. Look, I know Naby Keita has just had to bag a loan move to Hungary, but now it's still Jordan Henderson. Don't forget, this is a man, someone on paper, was a far more successful Liverpool captain than Stevie G. He was contractually going to be part of Arne Slot's team because he had a contract keeping him at Anfield until 2025. I mean, sure, he would clearly have been on the bench this season at 34, but it doesn't matter. He would be on course to lift the second Premier League title of his career as captain. All he had to do was just turn down that tempting £700,000 offer from Al Ettifaq, money that he didn't even get in the end because he quit so early. Instead of being part of this Liverpool squad, he's in and out of the Ajax team, who are third in the Eredivisie and have absolutely no chance of catching PSV at the top. He could have been Slot's captain on the bench. Instead, he's closing in on a January switch to Sunderland. Man City, Calvin Phillips, Ipswich Town. Calvin Phillips' career makes me sad. Seeing this man's career nosedive since Euro 2020. It's like watching a series of unfortunate events. I don't know how much lower we're going to see this guy fall. Ipswich have one of the most painfully average Premier League squads I've ever seen. And yet this former England international can't even get in the team anymore. Sent off against Leicester at the start of November, which cost his team a first Premier League home win in 20 years. And he hasn't been seen since. Man United, Anthony Martial, AK Athens. Only one winner here, and the answer is Anthony Martial. I don't care that he just scored 3 games in a row. It's Greece. Greece! This is someone who once had a Ballon d'Or clause written into his Manchester United contract. Yes, Ballon d'Or, that the club would have to pay Monaco an extra £7 million if he won it. Yeah, there was a young Monaco striker in that squad who would probably win the Ballon d'Or one day, but it wasn't Martial. They chose the wrong one because Kylian Mbappe is living out the life that Martial was supposed to have. He was supposed to emerge into this world-class megastar, leading the line for France and Real Madrid. Instead, he's still in his 20s and is playing for AEK Athens. I mean, he just won the league's Player of the Month for November, but he should be winning that every month. He has the most ability out of every single human being in that league. There is not a single person in Greece who could match him for footballing talent. And so the fact he's now scoring against teams like Aris Salonika and Crete, it's desperately sad. Newcastle, Anderson, Maximin, Fenerbahce. I absolutely love Anderson Maximin. I've said this man can be world class, which he can. I mean, 2 years ago, he was absolutely schooling Kyle Walker in a nutty 3-3 matches at James's Park. The fact he was also fooled by the lure of Saudi, and is now at Fenerbahce, where to be fair, he's playing on the left wing every week for Jose Mourinho, but he's only 27 and is far better than the Turkish league. I truly believe that when he would leave Newcastle, he'd go on to be a Barcelona star or something. I mean, Rafinha did that after quitting Leeds. Nottingham Forest, Brentford, Diaz, Southampton. Brereton Diaz has had such a laughably up and down career ever since leaving Nottingham Forest. I mean, he joined Blackburn, initially on loan in 2018, and he scored 2 goals in his first 50 matches for the club, looking like a horrendously goal-shy stinking flop. But no, because he netted 38 goals in his last 88 matches for the club. Make that make sense. Then it was 0 goals in 20 games for Villarreal, but then a decent 6 in 16 for a terrible Sheffield United, and now it's back to replicating his La Liga horror form. 0 goals in 12 matches for a dreadful Southampton, where I think he probably immediately lost the respect of his teammates, one collapsing like a pregnant mum on the opening day of the season after being tickled by Fabian Schär's nose. Southampton, Matt Targett, Newcastle. Matt Targett earns £100,000 a week. Just take a minute to digest that. He's just the next Jamal Lewis. 0 minutes this season in any competition. He hasn't played a single minute of men's football in over a year, and he's been mostly fit since the summer. Tottenham, Eric Dier, Bayern Munich. I feel good for Eric Dier because this man was living his dream. He must have thought it was too good to be true. For a Spurs outcast to go to Bayern Munich and play 15 times in the second half of the season, he'd be playing every minute of Champions League quarterfinals and semi-finals against Arsenal, Real Madrid. He was absolutely on cloud 9, but yeah, Vince Company has brought him back to earth with a thud because the ex-Burnley boss does not fancy him at all. Dier has started 1 game this season. 1, and none in the league, failing to make it off the bench 15 times. West Ham, Grady, Diangana, West Brom. I really never understood the outcry and fuss from Mark Noble when Grady Diangana was sold. The Hammers captain was literally risking a feud with his owners when he started whining about when this Dr. Congo winger was sold to West Brom in 2020. Well, he's now 26 and he can't nail down a starting spot in the championship and was recently dropped after playing in 5 incredibly boring draws in a row. Wolves, Rui Patricio, Atalanta. Hands up. Who knew that Rui Patricio was at Atalanta now? Anyone? I don't care that he turns 37 soon. This is someone who has never known what it's like to warm the bench. Come on, he's played 831 games in his career, having been a constant #1 goalkeeper since 2007. So to see him now failing to get a single minute for Atalanta, it must be incredibly painful for him because they're top of the league. He is probably so desperate to be finally part of a Serie A winning side. His ego will be telling him that he's a better goalkeeper than the Italian uncapped Marco Karnashevsky. Well, I know. Poor old Patricio is just eating yogurt on the bench. Anyway, that's it. Let me know, what player do you feel sorry for in that pile? Let me know in the comments, alright? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe as always. I'll talk to you in a while.